Hello and welcome. I'm joined by Raman Roy of Quatrro and a guru of outsourcing in India. Raman, thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thanks for having me.
Right. So, you know, the industry has been going through some interesting, let's say, trials and tribulations for a long time. And in many ways, it's adopted each time and adapted and grown. Now, we have an interesting set of events playing out. So, one is, of course, at the geopolitical level. You have the Trump factor, the Brexit factor. You also are facing headwinds in the industry itself because there is pressure from automation, artificial intelligence, and that's likely to change the way business is done. So, take us through what is primary on your mind as you tackle these issues, and how are you responding to each of them, and how are you prioritizing them?
See, whichever way you look at it, those pressures that you speak about are real. Yeah. Okay, automation or replacement of traditional jobs is a reality. The Trump factor, God alone knows where it can go. As yet, there does not even seem to be any element that will affect BPM. Some of the visa issues may affect.
Right. The outsourcing industry doesn't need people on site. Yeah.
So, but simultaneously, if you at the NILF sessions of what we've been having, if you just heard the keynote session today, segregate everything else out, just that session, the cognitive aspects that IBM is speaking about, where they are saying that AI coupled with human beings can be
replace
the
doctors.
next.
Not replace, or at least supplement.
Yeah, but it could dramatically enhance. It may not replace, but it can dramatically enhance that capability. And in the chat that I was having with Ginny just before the session, the human capital out of India being augmented by that AI, machine-based AI, is one of the biggest potential capabilities. In reality, that capability, we are uniquely placed for that capability purely because of the education levels, the intelligence levels, the hard work levels that are intrinsically part of the DNA. So, yes, automation will take away something, but the cognitive part or the first collar jobs or new collar jobs, as she calls it, which is not a white collar, which is not a blue collar, but the new collar jobs, that is a tremendous opportunity. And I think the industry in India has adapted to the early signs of that. If you look at digitization, and the data that we just released yesterday on that, we said that the digital projects have a revenue of about 1.5 times of the non-digital projects. We also said that while the industry is growing at about 8% odd, 8.6%, the people are growing by 5%. So there is a non-linearity in terms of the revenue per person of what people are bringing in. And that non-linearity is actually a single word description of saying the cognitive capability that Rini spoke about this morning are being implemented in the early stages. So, I see the green shoots of that, but the potential of where it can go is not only huge, it is much larger than what the potential was earlier. The great thing that I see here is that it is a level playing field. In the new world of tomorrow, the new digitized world of tomorrow, we are not saying this is how you do it, Mr. Customer, and we'll bring it to India and we'll also do it. They don't do it either. Our ability, our skill, our knowledge, the domain knowledge, the capability and adapting to technology, that I think will be an asset of where we go. So I am very bullish on what the future holds, but we need to re-engineer, re-architect, or as the theme is here, we need to reimagine ourselves.
Right. So let me phrase the question a little differently. That are you saying that the Indian BPM or outsourcing industry today is as equally poised or placed as anyone else because it can adapt and adopt equally to?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, what I am saying is it is a level playing field. Right. The digitized world is as new to our customers
as it is to,
as it is to us. And if we are able to demonstrate adapting to it, and that has a technology component, a lot of that technology component is likely to be built in India. So, if we show that what we are building, another arm of the industry can adapt very well to it, and it is a level playing field, we may have our nose ahead in terms of the capabilities of what we can offer. So,
can you illustrate that?
I mean, take any digital setups that you do, because you know earlier when
work that you've been doing.
Yeah, we take a higher end work like fraud control. Okay. Now people get very uptight to say, oh, fraud happened, oh, I sent it to India and fraud happened. Fraud is a $4–5 billion industry. You know, there are people of fraud having a conference equivalent to the NILF, perhaps better funded, where they are trying to say, let's talk about how we can gyp the customers out of it and what we can do. That requires more than just a human capability, more than just a machine capability. And we have demonstrated for what we do for our customers on fraud control, that we are able to bring down their fraud as a percentage of the business very significantly better than what they can do themselves with their own teams in their own companies.
But you're saying this is not happening only because of automation.
It is not just automation.
And it's not something automation can take over entirely.
It is the skill set of the people coupled with automation. Just people could not do it. Just automation could not do it. It is how you adapt to it. It is how you analyze, how you bring in human learning and machine learning. Both play a role. Just machine learning is not going to do it. Just human learning is not going to do it.
So, you're saying newer problems solved by newer callers.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So, how do you see this playing out in the next couple of years? I mean, literally the next year or so. Do you see companies like yours actually growing with this, or going through a phase where there is
hope so, yes.
Yeah, or there is an adjustment phase and learning?
I think typical of any new things, there will be early adapters and then there will be followers. And the mass of the volume, if you take the growth of the outsourcing industry, just take the BPM industry, and I was a part of the starting it, whatever, 30 odd years ago, it was to say, okay, you'll be able to do 500 people, Raman, but it will never grow beyond that. Okay, maybe 1,000. And then when we grew to 10,000, the same guy said, oh, wow, I didn't know you could scale it, and I didn't know you could do this stuff. Today we employ 1.5 million people and really growing. But there were early adapters who took it, who took a chance, and not everything went well. Some things went very well, some things went so-so, and some things went bad. And we were able to take the learnings of what went bad to see that the bad did not repeat. In the new world also, there will be early adapters and there will be mistakes. And as long as we learn from those mistakes, as long as the companies learn from those mistakes, and there is a corporate learning element, there is not an individual learning element that is there.
Right. So, you talked about fraud control as an example. So, that's a new problem that requires a new solution with a new set of people, right? So, can you give us 2 or 3 more examples which is going to keep the industry busy and for which we have to reskill?
Take the financial services industry is going to go for digitization. You know, you will not need to visit a bank. Whole lot of aspects of digitization. One aspect is that we will be creating those platforms, those apps out of the wonderful IT companies that we've created. But the issues that will come out that will need support on that, because at the back end, take a mortgage and a credit card. The mortgage system of a financial services industry is totally different than the credit card system. The app is an app for the customer. At the back end, it has to cater to multiple systems, and there may be things that are required. 80% of the transactions may go through automatically, 20% require that manual intervention, but the intervention is of a higher level. Unlike, say, a data entry intervention or a rule-based intervention, this requires problem-solving capabilities. This requires a domain knowledge, and this requires, and in this example, It requires a domain knowledge of the mortgage industry because it is linked with mortgage, domain knowledge of the credit card industry because it is linked to that credit card, and then you are trying to link those things together. India is uniquely placed to be able to offer those capabilities.
So, for every 100
scalability, sorry, one last point. It is not that you cannot find 100 people to do that in some of the more advanced markets or some of the other markets who think they compete with India for that outsourcing piece. But scalability, 100 people you can get, but can you get 1,000 and can you say this is working, now I'm going to move to 5,000. That scalability aspect, the aspect that the raw material is of a different caliber of what comes to India, that is our strength, and we as an industry need to build on that strength.
So, last question there. So, for every 100 people employed by the BPM, business process management industry, how many will actually move to the kind of world that you are talking about, and how many will perhaps be left behind?
Well, to my mind, it's a little difficult to look at the crystal ball and do the percentages. But again, you heard Chandra talk about the IT services industry yesterday. The traditional work is not going to go away. So, it is how rapidly our customers will move to the new platform. See, we are not the drivers.
The customers
it is not to say that, you know, I can service your account setups through an app, and therefore, Mr. Customer, why don't you move to the app? In real life, it doesn't work like that. In real life, the customer says that this segment of my business, I'm moving to the apps, will you service it? But the other segment, I don't have the money or the bandwidth or the capability to do it right now. I will keep doing it the traditional way. Can you ensure the service happens? So, as long as we are able to support the customer, and what I tell the customer is, my challenge is not to have more than 3 to 4 weeks gap. When my customer decides to go to a different direction, not more than 3 to 4 weeks gap for me to be able to service him or her. Because it is not that there is a switch they'll turn on, they'll talk to us and say this is what we are doing, and in that time frame, we have to be ready to be able to service them. So, the timing will be driven by customers, the timing will be driven by technology, adaptation by the customers and our customers' customers.
Yeah. So, people have to finally download those apps, which they may not.
Yeah, which they may not.
Yeah. So, all in all, you're saying that the next year it's turbulent, but then not the turbulence that you're not used to.
So, you'll see some starts and stops, you'll see some errors. Sadly, some things will blow up in our face because they are new things, and it is not. We had the advantage earlier to say, let us see how you do it, we'll do it that way. Now, our customer doesn't know how to do it, we don't know how to do it. So, some things unfortunately will have to be learnt on the fly, but it is fun times. In revenue terms, the growth will be much larger than in headcount terms. So, it will be non-linear, but we will add a lot more headcount, and the capabilities that we will bring to the party will be more global than to a particular level or of a rule-based kind of a thing. It will be more skill-based.
Right. That's a very optimistic note to end on. Thank you so much, Raman.
Thank you so much.